Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. We are back in the bathroom again today, and we've got to do some water sealing on the backer board and then some tile to make it look pretty. And so with no further ado, let's show you what we got to do, and let's do it. So waterproofing involves sealing all of the cracks on the board and covering the screw holes and such. Now the olden days, they used to just put the tile right on the drywall, and it worked. So, I mean, this is even better than that. So no matter what we do is an improvement on the olden days, but we have this nice concrete board and we've got everything fit up nice and tight, like as tight as you can get it. So we're gonna go ahead and caulk these gaps with some silicone. So I've got some extra here in my gun that I'm gonna use, just the kitchen and bath silicone, and then a new tube just in case that one fails or doesn't have enough in it. So we're gonna caulk this seam and then around the bottom and around the window, everything that has a crack, we're gonna put some silicone in it. So, and then after that, we're going to probably use Red Guard, which is this stuff right here, just a waterproofing type of glue. I'll mix it up there, and then we'll use a roller to apply it, probably in the corners like so. And then we'll take a nice tape, which is this stuff right here, and roll it out and push it in the corners, just kind of like doing drywall mud, except for it's sticky. And then we'll seal all those gaps around the tub and seal the window seal there and just seal away. Just like that, the waterproofing is complete. Let's show you what we've got going on here. We only had enough tape to do the window seal and around there and a little bit there, so we're going to have to come up with something to do there. But the reason it's pink is because I had a bunch of extra of the Red Guard. So I rolled it on, but I don't think it's completely necessary to roll it everywhere. It's just I had it, so I figured I might as well paint it pink because it's cool. But anyways, here's the window seal. We painted it with the waterproofing after we siliconed all the corners. And then we put the tape across the top, dripping it over the edge. That way, if water comes in the window seal and gets under the tile, it'll come down there. And then we sealed around the tub just like that all the way around, and then caulk the corners. Now that we've done all that, let's go buy some tile and some perimeter stuff and get it put in. Okay, we are back with the tile, and I've already started. That way I can kind of show you guys what the next step is. So I like to center the first tile right in the middle of the shower. So this is 5 feet approximately wide, about 59 inches once you put on the rock stuff. So I mark the middle of my tile with a little line there, and then I mark the middle of the wall with a level line right there. And then I mark it with a C for center line and me. But that is where I put the center line. That way I can adjust this back and forth to where it's perfect. And then that way this side and this side are identical. And then we can start staggering half and half all the way up. But sometimes stubs aren't exactly perfect all the way across. And so instead of, you see this second line up here, that's approximately where the full tile should be, but it's slightly lower on one side than the other. And so I made a level line slightly lower from the lowest point of the tub all the way around. And then I'm trimming these first row of tiles to fit exactly at that line. So you can see right here, it's perfectly on a line, and then all the way across. That way it matches up perfectly. And then, so I'm gonna show you, I went and cut this tile, which is the one that fits right here. But you can tell that a full height tile will not fit underneath that line. So we'll get it leveled and everything once we cut it, but you can see how it's high over here and a little high over there still. So there's kind of two ways of measuring this. You can measure from here to here and make a mark on the tile, or you can take your tile and you can flip it upside down like so, and then you can take your pencil and mark it straight on this line here, and then go over here and mark it right there. And then when you flip your tile back over, I like to cut on the finished side, and so I just make a mark here along with that line, and then a mark right here. And then you can connect the dots. Since it's not going to be perfectly straight across, you can't use your saw to cut straight, so just use your 2-foot level or straight edge, whatever you want. Put on those marks, then mark it across, and then once you cut it, it'll fit that spot perfectly. So anyways, let's go cut it real quick. So this tool is called a wet saw, and the reason it's called a wet saw is because it feeds water through the blade as you cut to keep the blade cool and to keep the dust down, because some of these tiles can get really dusty. And so we got a bucket of water over there and a little pump that sucks it up into here, and then we just run this on the table through the saw and make our cut. And then once you get your tile cut the size, you can test fit it, dry fit it like so. Make sure it lines up to your lines perfectly across, and then you can start putting your mortar on. So I'm just using a large mortar mix. It's white in color because I'm using a white grout. And so if this bleeds through the cracks, it'll be a lot easier to hide than if it was gray or some other color. So I'm using that. So I'm gonna go ahead and back by the tile and then put a little bit on here, and then I'll put it on there. It'll be complete all the way across. And then these little guys are the cheapest spacers you can buy because I'm cheap. But these are just 8-inch spacers, so no matter which way you turn it, it's an 1/8 inch. So I'm using it down here where there's a little bit of a gap to hold the tile, and then here to keep the correct spacing between my tiles. Okay. And then I just want to make sure that it's smooth across here and that's not tilted in any way. That way when I get done, there's no high spots or low spots. And then we'll do this 60 more times. And this is where we've made it to so far. We've got 3 rows of tile over there, 3 rows of tile over there, and we're working on this one, but I wanted to pause here and kind of show you where we've run into the hard situation that I can explain. So we got a pipe coming out, and it's kind of in the middle of the tile, so to speak. So I don't want to take my saw and cut across and make a square. That would just look nasty over there. And so I actually have one of these diamond hole saws that I use for this, and it's bigger, of course, bigger than this, but smaller than that. And this is already siliconed and sealed, but we'll seal it when we do this too. So I can drill a hole through there, just like a regular hole saw. So I have a hole saw kit for wood and metal over here. I'm actually just stealing the turning bit, this thing, from that kit, and I'll use it for in here. So I just have to take my Allen wrench and loosen the drill bit out of here and take it out, because you don't use the drill bit on this portion of it because drill bit doesn't work cutting through hard surfaces like that. you'll end up breaking it. So this is I made a diamond just like the saw that I'm using downstairs has diamonds on the blade, and it's just like a big abrasive and cut through. So when you're cutting a hole with this, you can't just go straight in like one of these. Just assemble this real quick. Okay. It has a guide bit here on the front, and you drill through your object and then it cuts a circle, and this keeps it stabilized in the middle from wandering around. But on these, it doesn't have one of those. And so you got to start at an angle, and let's see if I can get a piece explaining here. So when I start drilling into this circle, I'm gonna start at an angle and then work my way into it like this. Eventually I'll cut through all the way on both sides. Try not to break the tile. So that's gonna be tough, but let's do it real quick and I'll show you how it fits. So obviously you don't want to do that on your finished floor because you'll end up hurting it, but we're putting flooring on top of this just in case you're like, what's he doing? So anyways, let's put this tile on the wall. Okay, test fit first. Ooh, I have messed it up. So let's see what we can do about that. So I have a little confession to make actually. So when I was measuring for this copper stub out here, I measured it correctly at 4.5, but then when I marked it, I did something a contractor called inching it. So it was supposed to be 4.5, but I drilled the hole at 3.5. And so it's kind of easy to do sometimes because you're like, okay, there's the half, I go this, or there's the hole, I go this direction. It happens pretty often actually sometimes. But in this case, I was able to save the tile because it's gonna fit behind this no matter what. So I ended up drilling a second hole, making this more of an oval shape. And so when this slides on, it has more room to play and it'll fit. And then when this goes on top of the hole, after I grout it and all that stuff, you're never gonna see it. So it's not worth recutting a tile because you're not gonna see it, but if you were gonna see it, scrap the tile, do a new one. So put some mortar on the back of this baby and stick it on. Next obstacle after this is the valve itself, and it's pretty easy to do as well, especially if you had a hole saw, but I don't have a diamond hole saw that big because I don't do showers enough to justify buying one. I think I bought mine for $1 at a yard sale, but anyways, I just measure the middle of both and then I give it enough to where it will slide over, and you can kind of see the valve on the inside, and then this cover will cover all of that, no problem. So yeah, that's how I do that. And my saw just has a plunge setting so I can lift it up and then cut through it. And so I don't have to like slide it through, I just drop the head down and cut through it. So now that the hard part's done, we can keep going up. So we kept going up and this is where we've gotten to. So let me explain where we've made it so far. Of course, it's a new day and I am working on finishing things up. You can tell I've got the perimeter metal on, which is the same depth as a tile plus the mortar behind it, and that goes all the way up, around there, and then up. So you can tell it's a little bit dirty and everything that'll be cleaned, but we've got all the tiles on, which looks nice. Yeah, pretty sweet. And so the tile dimensions I did on this side, I just did a full half tile, well, I'll just say half tile, and then it's basically a full tile. I wanted some adjustment in here, so I made this shorter than a full tile. That way, if I needed to move in and out, I had the space to work. So this is like 23 3/4, and a full tile is around 24 inches. So just a little bit of a trim, and then those little spacers are just keeping those new tiles in place. And the last thing we need to do is put this shelf on. These are actually just transition pieces you can buy for when you're tiling a floor. I'm going to be using 2 of those and cutting it to fit up there. And then we'll cut it to the depth too, because right now it's hanging over a good 2 inches or so, and we only want it to hang over like a 1/2 inch or so. So we'll put that on the saw and cut it, and then we'll be golden. So the only things we have to do after that are caulk the corners around everywhere, and then grout it, or grout it and then caulk it, depending on which one I choose. And then we'll come back through and put in patch pieces of drywall here and here, and up the sides will be all cleaned up because they are just a little seam right there. So we'll clean that up with some drywall mud and texture, and this bathroom will be looking good. So let's go cut this down to size and then install it together. Okie dokie, we got them cut and in place. There's a nice gentle slope on that as well, and then the bottom is nice and clean, so we just need to caulk that edge. But yeah, so now all I have to do is glue those down and then caulk and grout the shower, and I'll show you how to do that as soon as I get those set in place. We tied.
Oh yeah. How you feel?
So we're caulking the shower right now, and I figured I would stop and show you how I do it, or how to do it, one or the other. And so I've cut the tip off of my caulking tube at an angle. I don't have a huge hole up there because I don't want to support out a bunch of caulking. So it's probably an 1/8 inch or so on the top. It all depends on the gap that you're trying to fill. Like this gap's a little bit bigger than this gap here, and so I'll leave a little more caulking here, but instead of cutting the tube bigger to fill that gap, I'll just use it, go up and down it twice. But consistency is probably the biggest tip I would give, is when you squeeze this squeeze it consistently all the way through as you pull it. And at the end, you click this button to release the pressure so it doesn't keep squirting out at the end. So we'll just start in the corner. It's always better to drag your caulking instead of push it. Pushing it doesn't really work very well. So drag wherever you start from. If you start from here, go this way. If you start from there, come this way. So let's do that together. Let's bring it in close and show what it looks like. When you get done caulking without finishing it off, it's going to look like this, which some people leave that finish, but I don't. So this is what I want it to look like over here. So the way you can get that is just using any of your fingers, basically. And this is a water-based one, so it will eventually come off by hands when I clean them. And so you just run it along there, and if it needs a little bit more touch-up, like say that corner looks a little gnarly, just add your little bit of caulking. Come back and just keep working it until it fits that corner nicely, and drag it out, and it will look nice and sharp. So I'm doing this on the corners, around the tub to seal it, around that, and then we'll do it up here in the window seal. That way no water gets in anywhere, and then down that wall, of course, and over and across. But these gaps are gonna be filled with grout, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So the caulking has dried, and that means that we can do the grouting now. But since we were waiting on the caulking to dry, I went ahead and put the floor in the bathroom. So, surprise, it is now one continuous floor into the bathroom, up to the tub. So now we can start doing the grouting. I'm just gonna use a spatula and a premix. It has sealer and everything in it. And then we're gonna wipe it off the sponge, so pretty simple. Now, usually they use a float for this, but I'm using a spatula because I like how quick and easy and clean it is. So let's do that real quick and finish this shower project. Check it out. We've got the tile grouted. It looks nice. So we used up the entire thing of that quart of grouting, and it fit just about perfect. So everything is caulked, ready to go. So now all we have to do is finish that up there, and we'll be done for the day. Oh, we'll be done for the bathroom actually. So that's gonna be nice. What do you think? That looks pretty sharp. Let me open the door back up here. See if we can get through. Noisy dog. You think, Copper? He looks good? Yeah. He wants to play tag. But anyways, that's what it looks like, and I'm quite excited. And he's quite excited too, aren't you, bud? Yeah. Okay. So anyways, as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that stuff down below. And we'll catch you on the next one. God bless.